should give children trackers instead of smartphones. This is the suggestion of Conservative MP Laura Trott. She's supporting the ban of phones at schools for the under-16s and warning that the consequences can be very grave if we don't act now. What she's urging parents to do is to use a dumb phone or an Apple AirTag instead to track their children's location. And I wonder whether you agree with her and you think it's a good idea. Should we give children trackers instead of smartphones? Should we follow Australia and ban social media for the under-16s? Perhaps you think we should ban smartphones altogether. Do get your calls in now. The number's 0207 862 2222. Let's kick off with Carrie on this one. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I think there is this idea, though, that it's parents that want to control their children and know where they are at all times, which of course we do. But actually, when I look at my phone, on Find My Phone, my family is all on it, and I've got my 4 people or 5 people on my one. I look at my kids who are in their 20s and 30s. They've got about 40 people on my Find My Phone. So it's young people that are doing the tracking much more than the older people.
Just explain to people who don't have Find My Phone how difficult and complicated it is, and also why young people would have 40 people on it.
They want to know where their friends are. So basically you go into the app and it says, this is where I can know where all my children are at all times. I know, have they left that place? I know they're on the tube now. I know they're going to come out the other end. Now I know I can pick them up. All of that stuff is really helpful. But more than that, for me, I had to give my children phones at the age of 11 because I wanted to know where they were. The idea that I could just have given them a tracker or put one in their coat, one in their school bag, would have been a much better idea.
OK, I want to bring Eve in on this. All I know is when I was a teenager, I was extremely relieved that quite a lot of the time my parents had absolutely no idea where I was at all. I would have hated it if they'd know when I was going in and out of the train or in and out of... I mean, I was always meant to be at the cinema on a Saturday night watching Murder on the
Where
Orient,
were you?
Deeply snogging somewhere unsuitable, of course. And then I'd come back and have to paraphrase the plot of the wretched film, which I hadn't seen. And I reckon that was an absolutely integral part of growing up, that your parents didn't know where you were all the time. Thank God they didn't know. Spared them a few, too much knowledge they couldn't have dealt with calmly. But, I mean, do you think it's essential to track children and the people that you love all the time?
I think in big cities, I think people feel like that.
Really?
And a lot of people stick a tracker in the suitcase, not in the suit, in the satchel, going to school. I do think we should follow Australia. I think the idea of giving smartphones to under-16s is really, if you ever looked at what's on a smartphone, and there should be more what I call dumb phones, who just phone and don't let you go and see all these terrible things. I don't understand why we haven't followed Australia. I think Keir Starmer could earn quite a few bonus points if he did it.
You're quite right. I mean, it would, as they say, look good. It would look as if he had the care of our children first and foremost, and also as if he was kind of making a courageous, brave, innovative, kind of visionary move, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Rather than what's really happened, Carrie, which is pussyfooting around this. We talk about it, but it doesn't happen.
I think making laws over this would be really, really helpful, because there are always... I know when my children got their phones at 11, there were always children in their classes that had had them since the age of 7 and were on social media. And I think by law we have to stop that, because we know it is affecting that child's brain.
I mean, Philip Pullman just gave an interview, I don't know if you saw it, where he said that the sort of books that he writes now, kids wouldn't read. They're too long, and that smartphones have effectively messed with their brain chemistry to the point where they can't sustain the kind of attention span they used to.
Well, emojis came about because people realised people couldn't spell. So up you go with a rose or a hippopotamus or whatever it is. And, of course, it's dangerous because after a while you don't spell, because meanwhile you've got to do essays in English and all the rest of it at school. And I know everybody says AI will change everything. You'll still have to write, you'll still have to read, you'll still have to understand possibly more and more complex things as
You'll also have to know the question that you want to ask AI.
Of course.
If you don't understand the question, Carrie, you can't ask AI to do the thing for you because you're not sure what it is you're trying to do.
Well, this is what I love about... When you get your text from, let's say, more senior people, they'll write it as though they're writing a letter.
I think I do that. I think I do that. I put dear something and then I put with love Vanessa, and people have said, what on earth is that?
But I quite like it.
Your child just sends you back K.
Yeah, K, not even OK. Not even OK, just K, I know. Does that feel
And that means you've got to have kept up that it's K now and it was M 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but it feels rude and it feels so peremptory just to K. Just think, or they'd reply yes. Yes, where's the bit about I hope your health is, flourishing, and thank you very much for your kind communication.
Yeah,
and as my father used to
chase.
put on business letters, assuring you of our desire to be of service at all times. How about that? In a
I like
routine
that.
business letter about brushed nylon pyjamas, assuring you of our desire to be of service of all times, and now you get K.
Yeah, you just
Come on.
It's so.
But I think not the chase, not the roundabout thing, cuts everything down. I mean, we all know the most fun you can have is sitting with another two people talking or whatever. And that seems to be sort of almost on, so peremptory now on.
I mean, David says, if I had children, I've always said they'd only be getting a bog standard basic phone, a dumb phone with no internet access. Kids don't need smartphones. They don't need them, but boy, do they want them.
Of course.
Well, they do, because they've got 8-year-old friends they're on social media, and I think it's that thing of fear of missing out. I don't have TikTok, or I don't have Instagram, and for my children, they could have those things when they were 13, but even then they had to be on my phone. Those apps were on my phone. If you want to go on your social media, you have to go on your mum's phone, and therefore I know what they're up to.
I mean, there is this feeling that you want to protect your children from these
They're vulnerable.
devices, which
Young
are really
people
very
are vulnerable.
complicated computer devices, not just phones, aren't they? And yet you're almost powerless because the peer pressure is huge. You don't want your child to be the weird one that doesn't have the phone, excluded socially, somehow not part of the group. Nobody wants to do that to their child, to isolate their child. So you are under pressure from the child, but also from all your peers, all the other parents who say, OK.
But young people, they're vulnerable. I don't know, if you've got teenagers around you, but honestly, they sext, they do send nudes of themselves. And at for schools, it's a huge amount of work trying to work out all the legalities of that, all the safeguarding around that. Yeah. If we just had some stuff just needs to be banned.
Well, Sarah says, we never had phones in my day and we survived. My children grew up before smartphones existed and they survived too. You do not need to track your children. I can't help thinking that tracking is a bit like spying, isn't it?
It sort of is, but you want to know, particularly if you live in a big city like London, you want to know they're off the tube, they're on the tube. You want to know they're coming home. Dark nights and all the rest of it. London's not the safe, cosy place it used to be. And I think it is absolutely spying. The kids know. The kids know that you know where they are.
They spy on us. Don't you worry. The kids are like, you're in Manchester, you're in Liverpool.